icon living. I am just an icon.
Our guest today, I grew up watching this man on TV. Followed his career, watch him do some real in-depth investigative reporting overseas. I saw him tackle the political front as well. I saw him uncover scandals that were taking place in facilities that were built to take care of people who were mentally disturbed. I saw him naked.
That was a scary sight.
Half naked, to be accurate.
Okay, half naked, but
I was all naked.
Yeah, I've seen him fight people he was interviewing on TV. You know, this is somebody who's been very passionate about what he believes. He's very polarizing in some aspects, and other aspects he's very loving, and people gravitate towards him regardless if you like what he does or not. You know what he's going to provide for you is something interesting and entertaining. And he's here with us today to celebrate his new book, the Geraldo Show, the one and only Geraldo Rivera.
Thank you.
How you doing, man?
Thank you.
How
kind
you been?
words.
Oh no, it is what I love watching you.
48 years.
48 years.
Wow.
Yes,
48 years.
I want to stick it out to 50 if I can still breathe.
If you can still breathe in 2 years, man, you look great, man.
Yeah. It's how you look. It's not how you feel.
But you came in the game. you came in the game as you were an attorney though.
Young Lords. I represented the Young Lords and
Yeah.
also the Black Panthers in those days. It was a crazy time here in New York.
Yeah, and I read about that in the book. The book you did really well. Did you have a ghostwriter or did you write?
No, I wrote every word myself.
You
Oh,
wrote.
wow.
You wrote every word. You
I
said
wrote and rewrote because the world kept changing. You know, we had all that trouble at Fox. So all that stuff happened just in the middle of the process. So I had to go back and start again.
all that trouble at Fox. Yes, you talking about the sexual harassment charges?
Yeah, all that.
All that stuff. Who was it? Gretchen Carlson?
Yeah, she's the George Washington of the Me Too movement. She really started it all.
What did
Credit to her.
Credit to her. And she said she was sexually harassed by
Roger Ailes, the founder and creator of Fox News.
Okay.
You know, I nobody saw it coming. I swear to God, it was not an obvious thing. It's not like you see Mad Men on TV, people grabbing asses and stuff like that. It was nothing like that. Whatever happened behind closed doors over a period of years. And, whatever it was, they purged themselves of whatever the sin, but it was an enormous disruption in all of our lives.
Did you believe them?
Did I believe the people accusing?
Yeah.
No. Well, no, I didn't, because it didn't, initially. It was one word against the other, plus, her ratings were low when she got fired, so it was the kind of thing that you would, it seemed like resentment or sour grapes or getting even, backstabbing or whatever. And then she came up with the tape, and I said, oh, my God, she's got documentary evidence that this went down just the way she said it went down. And it was heartbreaking and infuriating at the same time.
Oh, okay. Now, some other people came out and accused them as well, right?
Yeah, well, what happened is first Gretchen, and we were all looking at Megyn Kelly, who at that time was the biggest star in our firmament. Just, come on, Megyn, let's back Roger Ailes. This is a fake charge, and Megyn didn't do anything. So we got all angry at Megyn. Then it turns out that he had harassed Megyn allegedly when she was a young person just starting, a young woman just starting in the news business. So then, what I thought was bitchy became heroic.
It became heroic. So did you guys actually, when she got her new show, you guys protested her show, or a couple of you guys decided you wasn't going to support it?
When she refused to back Roger initially after Gretchen's charges, remember, at first it was the Republican convention in Cleveland and the Democratic convention in Philadelphia, and Megyn was silent, and we were all saying Roger's innocent and this is BS and so forth. Then when all of us said of Megyn, no, she's in it for herself. She just wants a big deal. Let's boycott her show. And then that's when it came out that she had been allegedly harassed by the same guy. And we all said,
y'all said sorry?
Bad on us, yeah.
Did y'all apologize to her?
Well, yeah, I apologized and continue to apologize. The whole thing about that whole Me Too thing is it's a movement now, but I mean, it was a moment that's been a long time coming, and a lot is coming out now. I mean, some of it I am sure is self-serving, but there's no doubt that many of these charges are true, and that it exposed a culture not just in our business. But generally speaking, where women, particularly subordinates, have been abused by superiors, and I mean, bad on us. And I believe that we have really gone through a metamorphosis. We're different now. The business is different now. Times are different now. It wasn't that long ago that I jumped out of a cake for Barbara Walters on The View. We're topless. Nowadays, can you imagine them doing something like that?
Well, I heard you requested to do that.
I loved Barbara. I had a crush on Barbara for years.
You said something once that kind of upset me a little bit about Trayvon Martin, and you said that you bet money if he didn't have a hood on, that he wouldn't have been killed. And I thought that was, I personally thought that was naive of you to say that. But what made you say that?
Well, that's a good question. I apologize to Trayvon's parents in person, and I didn't mean to add to their upset, to their hurt. It's just that I'm different than many people in my position in that I'm from Avenue C. I was a street lawyer. I have 35 stitches in my forehead where someone broke a bottle over my head, and all the brawls I had over. I am a legitimate creature of the street, of that area, Avenue C in Manhattan, all Puerto Rican poor people, and so forth. So I was speaking from as a heartfelt. I have two sons among my 5 children. My 2 oldest are boys. My second son's mother is Mexican American, so he's very dark skinned, much more than me, and I'm dark skinned. But when he goes out. When he was driving his hot rod Dodge Charger, I said, "Get that thing off your head. The first thing a cop's going to do, you stop at a red light, and you're wearing that hoodie, I'm going to smack you." And that's what I was talking as a parent.
Yeah.
To me, Trayvon that night, and I hate George Zimmerman and everything he stands for, the killer. But you just have to picture, here's Zimmerman, who's a racist, and he's on guard and armed, and he's protecting the community where there had been several break-ins. And here's Trayvon walking from the 7-Eleven. He walks over a grassy, rainy night. He walks over. He's got the hoodie on. He's tall kid. Remember, God bless him. And it's a shadowy, dark, rainy. I just think that there's no way. That's why the guy wasn't charged. There's no way he's going to get convicted for killing that kid. It's like a license to die. And if you're a parent, you have to recognize what society is. It's the real deal. And all I was trying to do is save lives. And I did it in a clumsy way.
Yeah.
And I wish I had used different language to express it. If I had said it the way I just tried to explain it to you right now, it would have been better. But
not much better. It was a rainy night. He wore a hood.
Yeah, put yourself on the jury. Even you, with your own life experiences.
Yes.
Put yourself on. Would you have convicted that guy under those circumstances?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That man had no right to take that young man's life because he was suspicious. I don't even think he had any right to follow him.
Well,
so
I think
he was shot because of the color of his skin.
I think that's right.
Okay, not because if a white boy was wearing that hood, he would be here.
Exactly. It depends on the if it was the same circumstances. I'm not.
But I don't even see an issue with the fact of clothing and relating to safety. That doesn't even bother you.
I do.
To even talk about it from that term. That you can even justify it by clothing of the hood.
People can criticize my point of view, but I am speaking in a heartfelt way as a parent of 2 boys, and I've seen what happens to them.
I understand that, but
I wish I could change the world.
No, I'm asking the question.
I wish I could change society.
As a parent, you don't even see the issue that you have to address your children to talk about what they can and cannot wear in order to protect their safety.
I'll go
at the heart of that.
I'll go a step further. I think that it is a sad reality that when a young black man goes out and his mother sees him go out, that mother is more fearful of the cops than is made confident for her son's safety by the presence of the cops. I see that reality. I hear, the beef I had with Kendrick Lamar about the imagery of police cars and so forth. You have to deal with the reality. Nowadays, in the world that we live in, where people have all of their preconceived prejudices, where everybody's got a gun, where cops are as jittery as anybody else, we live in a world where a young black man is an endangered species. And if we don't do some practical things to mitigate this peril, you're going to hear a story like this every 2 or 3 weeks. There's going to be another. We just had Sacramento now. You have all of these. You're going to have one every 2 or 3 weeks forever, unless we tell our children. The world is racialist. I don't want to say racist. There's plenty of racism and racists out there, and I've confronted them more physically than anybody in the news business over time, and you see my career. But as a parent, as an urban parent, I just want to keep my son safe.
So with that being said, though, if you understand a mother's point of view, and you just said you understand a mother's concern for her black and brown children when she steps out into when he steps out into the space, right, of the world, how then do you justify, or not even justify, I should say, how do you reconcile the conversation that's happening across the globe, in particular conservative news networks, where it becomes about the value of the blue life, right? It becomes blue versus black, right? If you have this understanding of the black woman mother being justified, then how is that conversation not being brought on conservative space when they begin to talk about the blue lives matter and not giving context to the black life?
I think that's an excellent point. But I think that the relationship between the blue and the black is the area that needs remediation, conciliation, and understanding. But I go back to what Kendrick Lamar and the beef I had with Kendrick. If every video is going to portray a cop as a killer, you're not calming the situation, you're exacerbating the situation. Cops live a kind of paranoid existence, because you have the cops, very often the white cops don't come from the city, they come from the suburbs. They are fearful of what happened in the Bronx a year or so ago, where the 2 cops were assassinated in the police car. They live in a paranoid, almost a war kind of setting. Now, what I urge of my friend, the President of the United States, is let's start this conversation. I think that Donald Trump can be more effective than Barack Obama was in terms of bringing people together, because it is unexpected, because it is unlikely. It's just like when Nixon opened up China. You never would have thought the conservative guy would be opening relations with the communist country. Nixon did it. The liberal didn't do it. The conservative did it. I think that Trump, as a conservative, as a New Yorker, has an ability now and an opportunity now to start a conversation that might remediate. Because if we're just going to be, people should be able to wear whatever they want, wherever they want, go here, go there, that the cops have no right to do this or that, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change. And how many funerals, how much anger, and then the cop's going to be acquitted, or George Zimmerman's going to be acquitted.
Who wasn't a cop.
It wasn't a cop.
Okay.
They're going to be. The deck is stacked, and in many ways, the culture exalts the division rather than preaching. Like in the old days, God, his name escapes me. What's going on?
Marvin Gaye.
Yeah. That was a healing attitude. It was come on together. When something awful happens, we mourn together.
Yeah.
We let's talk about brotherhood and sisterhood and
I get that. Kendrick does that in his music. You know that, right?
Well, he does it, damn particularly, and that's what set me off. Where the
Yard song from the Damn album.
Right.
Let me play the lyric. Let me play the lyric.
Fox News wanna use my name for percentage. My latest muse is my niece. She worth living.
This is when he mentioned Geraldo's name in the song.
That's Uncle Kendrick. Yeah, that's business. Somebody tell Geraldo this nigga got some ambition. I'm not a politician, not about a religion. I'm an Israelite. Don't call me black no more. That word is only a color. It ain't facts no more.
Now, your response, you did something with the Huffington Post, I believe. Was it Facebook, and this was what your response was. I got
Seems
that.
to me that with Kendrick Lamar, and he's the best of them, like I said, and the others far more egregious, with them indoctrinating young people with the lesson that the cops are the enemy, that there's no good way to get ahead. It's the worst role model. It's the worst example. It's the most negative possible message. And what's the point of it? I mean, you sell records. I get that. You sell records. I get that. But it avoids the central reality, just as Black Lives Matter avoids the central reality. Now, in this building, I probably have a higher regard for Black Lives Matter than anybody else, because I think that there is a real issue of police violence. But again, I stress it pales in comparison to the ghetto civil war that's being waged.
I believe that. Maybe I was harsh in my tone, but if I were the mayor, I think that I could help. I could help. I could bring people together in a way. I know it sounds sappy. I'm from the '60s. We're more idealistic than they are in the 21st century. Now it's cynicism and division, and I don't see any cultural force that's helping to. I'm an integrationist.
Yeah.
I want people to live together, to aspire together, to have. It sounds so corny. Even saying it sounds corny.
Yeah.
But when you look at what happens in Baltimore today, and I was talking about the Ghetto Civil War, where there's a murder every single day.
Ghetto Civil War.
Yeah.
You got to explain. What is your definition of that?
The cheapness of life in too many American cities, where a young black man kills another young black man, and it goes unnoted. It goes unnoted because it's not a cop that killed the kid. It's so melancholy to me, and I don't think I want brother. I want that back. I want that sentiment back.
Yeah.
I think that this is in Baltimore and Camden and
Sacramento
Detroit
and Oakland and all over the country.
So when you talk about the ghetto war and the black on black, are you talking about black on black crime?
Yeah, not
crime?
crime so much as violence.
Right. But
Yeah.
are you also alluding to like white on white crime and why?
I just don't think
you
that
positioned it in that type of terminology, which I find very interesting too as well, because in your commentary you talk about selling records. What I find very fascinating in this day of news, right, in the days of sound bites, in particular on Fox Television and the news sites, the clickbait that occurs, right, in order to get people to click on the website, to get their advertising ratings, the things.
I don't speak for Fox News. I only speak for Geraldo.
Are you not a commentator on there?
I speak for myself.
Are you a commentator?
Well,
on
I mean,
Fox?
you don't speak for everybody on Sirius.
Are you contracted with Fox? So you're a contractor who comes on, right?
Yeah, 17
so you talk
years.
about it.
17 years,
right?
but I talk for myself.
So
Okay, but go ahead. Go ahead. Make your point, Mike. Go ahead.
So I guess the question I have, I find it very interesting how we started off the conversation about you understanding. I want you to clarify some things because I find it contradictory. You talked about you understand the mother's position in terms of her sending her black child out into the world, right?
Cruel world.
And you understand the fear of that. But in the same token, in this Facebook Live, you began to talk about, again, the blue life, which I asked you the question about earlier. But then you lean in on that conversation about the blue life matter. But then you refer to President Trump as your brother. But in the same time, this is the individual, when he was on the campaign trail, said that he could shoot people on Fifth Avenue and still get elected.
He did,
right?
And he was elected.
So the type of incite of fear, right? And then how he talks at his rallies and the commentary that is used. Are you saying anything about that?
I
you
do
talk
say,
to
and
him as
I
your
said it,
brother?
not only that, I said it to the president's face when we had dinner down in Mar-a-Lago last month. I said, Mr. President, you have to have more diversity around you. I mean, that's one of the reasons that minorities don't relate to you. I said that to the President of the United States, and I believe that. But I also think, look at President Obama. I remember tears going down my face when he was elected because as an old civil rights activist, this was the culmination of my dream, that a black man was now the President of the United States. But what happened to race relations over the 8 years of the Obama administration? The president said they've never been better. President Obama said they've never been better. But Ferguson happened, Trayvon Martin happened, all of these other incidents happened. I don't think that race relations got better under President Obama. I think, if anything, they deteriorated. I think that race relations now, when I talk about Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter has a legitimate beef, but I think that with more of a conciliatory tone, with more outreach, with more, maybe I'm a hopeless old liberal. But I just think that things were better in the sense of people working together in my old day, when I was your age, than they are now.
Do you feel like people were working together during the Bush administration? In terms of race relations?
I think that the best were probably Clinton. I think during the Clinton years, there was more sincere integration than we have seen since. I think that the world has become, if anything, more polarized, more divided. I would love to see President Trump's right-hand man be a black man or woman, like a Condoleezza Rice, someone who really is an example to everybody. Just with your eyes, you see just as smart as him, just as, as experienced, just as what. And that's, I think that everything you see on TV should reflect what's on the street, how people live. Every news team should be integrated.
Let Tracy.
Wouldn't that say that Americans are more comfortable seeing black people play a subordinate role then? Because isn't it that if Obama, who is very vocal about forming a genuine union amongst races, against genders, against ages, right? But just his appearance as a black man, his presence as a black man is what created the divide, because it was never his words that created a racial divide.
It wasn't his actions either.
No, I agree with that. I think he brought out a lot of incipient racism. A lot of racists came out of the woodwork during the Obama run and then his presidency. But the whole notion of subordinate and superior, I reject that utterly. I want a world where everybody gets an equal shot, where anyone can live wherever they want, hang out wherever they want, walk wherever they want. I want much more emphasis on old-time integration than you see now. Black lives do matter, but I think that the Black Lives Matter organizers could have been and should now be, as they evolve and mature, more inclusive. Get more people in the coalition. Get more people on the team. The old approach to civil rights, I think, was much more effective than anger and division.
What was are the differences between, you represented the Black Panthers and then the Black Lives Matter movement in terms of how they organized the movement?
Well, I think in Black Panthers, I was strictly as a criminal lawyer.
Okay.
And my primary client were the Puerto Rican equivalent of Black Panthers, the Young Lords.
The Young Lords. But you were a civil rights activist.
And that was in the middle of the anti-war movement, in the middle of the civil rights movement. I'm talking about 1968, 1969, 1970, when I got discovered and brought into TV. First of all, I was a half a century younger. I was very idealistic, and the tactics, and you're correct, I think, and valid to bring up the fact that those tactics are reflected somewhat in Black Lives Matter. But times have changed. You can't be that anymore. I left after Kent State. That's where I gave up activist lawyering. 4 kids got shot, all of them white kids, as I recall, at Kent State, May 1970. When that happened, I said to myself, this road that we're on, with the aggressive, in-your-face, confront the cops every place you can. The man sucks, and we'll never get ahead. We'll never get ahead. Burn it down. All the rest. Kent State convinced me that was a dead end approach. And since I've tried to be this person that you see, I've tried to be the person, and I walk around, and people relate to me the way you did when I walk in. You grew up with me. You know everything about me, or as much about me as you want to.
Yeah.
My life has been an open book. I say what I say because I mean what I say. Sometimes I overstate. Sometimes I'm in my passion. My rhetoric gets too fiery.
Yeah.
But I'm Geraldo. I think
You
that
two are a lot alike. Yeah. You and Mike Muse.
Marketing.
You two should do a show together.
Yeah. Punditry.
Look, man,
Contract
you have to come back on the show, man. I appreciate you sitting
Thank
and
you.
explaining your position.
Thank you.
Geraldo's show is the book. He talks about a lot. You even talked about contemplating suicide.
Yeah.
You made some mistakes in your career. You got kicked out of countries because of it. You go into that. Your beautiful wife and family. You married younger.
Younger. You can say. That's another thing I got to comment with the president.
You're only twice her age. There's nothing wrong with that. But
Nice little
you
jab.
like that. All right, no. But I'm happy. Congratulations with that. So I want to encourage people to get the book, read it for yourself.
Well, I appreciate that.
Hear about his story. There are a couple other things I want to get to, but we only have so much time. But have you listened to a lot of Kendrick's music other than that song?
I listen to everything, and I'm more of a Drake man.
Okay.
But you don't like Drake?
No, I love Drake. Yeah, this is great to hear you say that.
No, I think that he's got a great balance.
Yeah.
I think that he really he's got the edge, the urban edge that I think makes it really sharp. But he also understands that this is a big crazy world.
Yeah.
And I think that his message is generally positive, and he really
It's always positive.
Always
You
positive.
said you mentioned you listened to all of Kendrick's discography. How would you summarize then his discography and his body of work, right? Because even look at his performances on the award shows, how theatrical they are, and all the messages that they relate to, besides just the police
I like
issue.
Jay-Z too.
I'm talking about Kendrick now.
I know.
But
So I don't want him to listen and say, "Wait, what about me?"
But in terms of Kendrick, right? Kendrick's body of work goes beyond just the policing, right? So if you said that you listened to his entire body of work, how else would you categorize his music? How else would you characterize his messaging?
Yeah.
And how else would you characterize his impact as he having on culture, and not just black culture? Since you said you listen to his music.
And Drake has never mentioned police in his
at
music.
all. So he's different. You sing it on Kendrick.
I am not a music critic, so I'm not going to pretend that I can give you a discography of Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
I can tell you that I've listened to many of his albums.
Right.
I've listened to his music. His performances are not only theatrical, but very dramatic,
Right.
and they make an editorial point, I think you'll agree, that's beyond the musical aspect. He's making a political statement in these theatrical TV appearances and these various shows. I think he's extremely creative, but he's in a very powerful position. Like you compare him to Drake, and I just think that
You can't compare him to Drake.
I can because
No,
I don't.
make your statement. Go ahead.
I'm not like you. I'm not an expert. I just am a music fan. I just think that I need positivity. I need reaffirmation that hard work and education and ambition are good things, and they will be rewarded in this society
that's
wherever
what
you come from. That's the message that I've tried to present, and that's what I don't see enough of. I think there's too much gloom and pessimism rather than celebration. To me, there's more celebration in Drake's music than Kendrick's music, and that's just an amateur, clumsy old man
I'm
talking.
not expert in either of music, so I'm expert on politics. But when it comes to music and with Kendrick, I actually challenge you because you made lots of broad strokes and generalization about an artist. You even made a statement on this Facebook Live thing that you said that he's one of the best. That was your words, right? He's the best that we got within hip hop right now. So if you didn't make that statement, even you just saying you haven't listened to it, I'm curious to even how you even get your
Well, how
metrics
about we do this?
as the best.
Why are you attacking my music? music tastes.
I'm not talking your music taste. I'm talking about the broad strokes you made about hip hop, about it being role models, about positivity.
If you disagree with me, you disagree with me. That's the way. That's my vibe. That's my vibe. My vibe is that you need more optimism.
I was going to have a conversation with you.
Generally speaking, you have to have more optimism in life, particularly when you start behind. Look at me. A Jewish mother.
You keep talking about Drake, so you listen to
let me talk about Geraldo.
Please.
Because it's the Geraldo show that the book is.
So you've mentioned
I have a Jewish mother and a Puerto Rican father who's half Taino Indian. I grew up in New York, a pimply-faced mutt in a world where the deck was stacked against me.
Right.
I had asthma. Really, when I say a runt, I was 115 pounds as a freshman in high school. I fought through it. I attained a level of success and influence. Despite all the controversy, I've had one of the most enduring careers in history. I'm in my 48th year now. There's only like 6 or 7 people that have lasted longer than me in big time television. Yeah. I'm not an accident. I'm not here because of some quirky thing that happened and I got a big break or this or that happened to me. I'm here because over the decades, with my daytime show and with the confrontation with the racist neo-Nazis and me hanging around with Roy Innis and the core people back in that day and my friendship with Al Sharpton, I'm somebody who a lot of folks can relate to. I walked down, and I was starting to say, I walked down and he said, "Hey, Geraldo, hey, Geraldo, hey, Geraldo." And so many of the people who are doing the Hey Geraldos are minority people who relate to me as an example of someone who made it in a righteous way.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Geraldo.
I got no beef with you bringing it up. I just
Well,
I brought it up because you brought it up.
Yeah. Okay. I got that.
Right? You made those statements.
I get it. I did.
In your comments.
Yeah. But thank you, Geraldo. I think
you.
you get. But in terms of the Kendrick, this is a hip hop station.
Yeah.
That dude is the most.
I would love to meet the guy.
You gotta meet him and do a deep dive and all
I
this
think
music
that would
because
be
when you make the broad statement.
If he's listening, I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that.
He's one of the most motivating and inspiring artists that hip hop has, and he's speaking his truth from the environment you came from.
Yeah.
That he's still living in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I guess
so.
Which is what birthed the hip hop movement, that environment.
That's Mike Epps right there, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. Oh, Mike Epps just walked in.
Oh, man.
All these standing ovations.
Yes, Mike Epps is here.
I want to ask you one question.
Go ahead.
Did you ever hear Martin Lawrence talking about you?
I heard Martin Lawrence. I've seen Martin Lawrence during the day. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
Mike got a book too, Geraldo, that you got to get. It's called Unsuccessful Thug right here. No, but in the book, he talks about his challenges as a young man of color, coming up in the streets, getting into Hollywood, navigating through society, all the different challenges that he's had to face.
Yeah. But this statement that you make here, Mike, I feel guilty for being alive when so many of my friends are dead. I totally relate to that. And here we are. We're still standing.
Still standing.
Yeah, boy. God bless. God bless.
Man. Geraldo, appreciate you coming. You got to come back. Now you know you got to come back.
Yeah, well, invite me. I'm right across the street.
Spence, he's coming back. All right? All right, cool. Geraldo Rivera, ladies and gentlemen.
It's Sway in the morning, only
on Shade 45.